One of the best things about making Fast and Furious movies is getting to take our fans around the world with us. We love exploring new places. And in The Fate of the Furious, we had the unbelievable opportunity to travel to Cuba and bring the taste of the Cuban culture to our audience. Here's a look at our experience shooting in Cuba, from its beautiful cities to the inviting people who welcomed us with open arms.
This is one of the most impossible locations to lock down and shoot for a number of reasons. And we happen to be the very first studio movie to shoot in Havana and Cuba, period. That's a major feat.
You know, last year we heard a lot about Obama going to Cuba, but we were in Cuba before the government, American government went there. We were already starting to lay down the groundwork for the impossible, which was to film there.
It took us months and months and months of negotiation between Washington and Havana, the governments, State departments. It took so much.
Right now, I am going to meet members of the U.S. Embassy here in Cuba who have been very helpful in allowing us to make magic. This is the team that helped us do the impossible. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, group hug, group hug.
In order for us to shoot in Cuba, we brought everything from the toilet paper to the cameras. We brought everything there.
Every toy a director could ever want is not only here, but it's in Cuba, which means that we had to put all this stuff on a ship, on a plane, on a submarine, whatever we did, we got it out here. And we're bringing the infrastructure to Cuba, because there's not much here, especially to shoot a movie of this size.
2, 1, action!
Normalmente en un equipo mío sería entre 5 y 8 personas. Aquí estamos hablando casi 30 personas. Y entonces es una así. Solamente, yo creo que nunca en Cuba hubo una película en que tuviéramos 250 asistentes de producción. Eso es primera vez que en la historia del cine cubano.
You see these camera cars, you see edge arms, you see our motorbikes and stuff like that. You see some of even just the video village. This stuff has never been seen before here. We coupled with a crew from Cuba. And so now I had to essentially lead the American crew and the Cuban crew and bring them together. And so you never know what you're gonna get when you do something like that, because it's almost like a creative social experiment. But we all came together, the Cuban crew and the American crew, and family being a theme for the story became the theme for our crew.
Also, the thing was interesting about Cuba is people just love the movie Fast and Furious.
One of the things that's always been fascinating about this franchise is how much it's loved in places you would never expect. I love you, baby.
There's nothing in the action realm that quite compares to this franchise. We're standing alone on a platform that includes different cultures from around the world, you know, in a ride, in a fun ride, you know? And I think that that's something that I could say I'm incredibly proud to be a part of.
This is restricted airspace. No one flies over Havana. And they allow us to shoot with an American helicopter 50 feet off the ground, doing amazing action, amazing stunts.
I don't think there's ever been a Fast and Furious movie where we were able to fly the helicopters that low and to capture the action that we did in Cuba. It was really amazing.
It's kind of cool to see what's here, because I do think that very soon it's going to change.
Very exciting because my family's Cuban. My dad especially used to live here like back in the 50s, and it's just interesting to see the contrast as to how it was described to me before, when it was booming, when Havana was Havana, and now after the revolution and all that stuff. Definitely cool to see.
Havana is absolutely raw. You see no billboards, no marketing, no influence, no Western influence, and I think that's really, really interesting.
Cuba is a land forgotten in time.
Between the cars, the architecture, being taken back 50 years, it's something you can't build on a soundstage or on a studio lot, and it's very, very hard to find in 2017. So this has so many layers being here, I love it.
What we wanted to do was celebrate the Cuban spirit in that opening scene.
When you see the love and care and the TLC they put into these cars, it's on a whole nother level. And especially given that they don't have the access to the parts that we have.
Mira, amor, un motor de barco.
No way.
Yeah, lo que sea para tener a mi cariño trabajando.
It goes to show how being oppressed for such a long time cultivated that ingenuity. Taxi drivers, they drive the old 1950s Chevys, Cadillacs, and I was reading the odometer on one of them the other day. It had like 650,000 kilometers on it, which is crazy.
It's not just kind of like, oh, car, it's a classic. Their families have experienced life through these cars, so they have a different attachment to these vehicles than, say, what we do in the States.
My grandfather bought it in 1956. When he died, it passed to my father. Then my brother, and now to me.
Cuba is all about that car culture. You got these cars from 1961 and later. Like, if there is a perfect guy to be immersed in that culture, it's Dom.
This is a Cuban spirit. Tu espíritu. Your spirit. I'll never lose that. My only concern while we were filming there is that Cuba always maintains its character.
Even though it was maybe one of the most difficult experiences to make a movie down there, I will never look back on it any other way than the most fun 3 weeks I've got to spend making a movie anywhere. It was just truly amazing.
Cuba is a standing work of art. We got amazing things out there, but it took careful planning, it took amazing patience, and it makes you appreciate creating and filmmaking in a different way. So Cuba was an amazing addition to the story, but it was also a profound experience for all of us as filmmakers.
The Fast family has always had a strong leader in Dom Toretto. But in The Fate of the Furious, Dom's absence is felt by all of us. We're forced to come up with a way to stop the one person we'd follow into any conflict. See what it took for the family to soldier on without Dom.
Did you ever think you'd betray your family the way you did today?
You wanna play like that?
Cypher, the evil genius cyberbully.
Ouch.
I'm kidding. She's actually pretty evil in this movie.
When we started talking to Charlize about creating this character, we really worked so closely with her to develop who this character was. And she had a really good idea of the kind of international kind of hacker that she would be.
It's zombie time.
And action.
Chris Morgan had a pretty good outline and idea of what he wanted to do with the character, and he's an incredibly smart writer. And so all of his talents really lended themselves to creating a character that was unusual. Everybody was really collaborative and super supportive in having me kind of take ownership of it. And that is always such a great place to be in. And when you work with people who kind of encourage that, it's heaven.
I want to see Toretto.
There are no more cameras.
Then find something, punch in on something reflective, a car mirror, anything.
She meets up with Dom. She meets him in Cuba, and she enlists his help to help her execute her, I'd say, pretty evil plan.
Our goal, we have to catch Dominic Toretto or goes rogue after all these years.
It ain't too late to stop this.
What are you doing?
Engine's misfiring. I gotta check it out.
No, that's not part of the plan, Dom.
Clearly. But unless you want the engine to seize on the job.
You have 5 minutes.
I think the best villains are not the ones that are black or white, but are somewhere in the middle, and I think she did a great job of creating a sympathetic villain that we understand why she's doing it, but not necessarily agree with how she's doing it.
Here's the great thing about Cypher, is that we have layered her into the past 2 films, and our characters, our audience, never even knew that she was moving pieces behind them.
You know, I really wish you had joined me when I asked you. It's not too late.
So the teams in movie 6 and the teams in movie 7, those were her teams. And our guys, Dom and Letty and everybody, when they were foiling the bad guys in those films, they were actually foiling her.
She is no one to play with. And he destroyed not 1, but 2 of her teams. So she's back for not only revenge, but she's going to use him in the place of those teams to achieve her evil plan.
You gonna turn your back on family?
I think the reason why she chooses him is because he might have the most vulnerable aspect to his character than any of the other characters. And that makes her even more delicious because she can kind of prey on those vulnerabilities. And I don't think any of the other characters would have lent themselves to the possibility of, let's go, forcing somebody into a corner the way Dom allows her to do that.
He gets caught up by his own code this time. In fact, his own code is the weapon that Cypher uses against him.
The moment you make a move, highly paid men with weapons will make their way into this room with one very specific instruction. It's not to save me. It's to kill your son. The threat of losing any of those things makes him more of a pawn for her. And I think that's why she chooses him. And I think she also likes the challenge of knowing that he is somebody who swore his entire life that he would never break his code. And I think she loves the challenge of taking on somebody like that and actually getting them to break their code. Let me ask you something, Dom. What's the best thing in your life?
Family.
No, it's not. Not if you're being honest.
She is incredibly intelligent. She is incredibly dangerous. The thing that is most dangerous about her is that she is well thought out. She has a plan in place, and by the time you're aware of it, it is already 18 steps in and there's no going back out of it.
Did you all enjoy that? Next generation concussion grenade. It scrambles your senses. Don't worry, we'll wear off.
She's so dangerous because her animosity or her anger or her frustration has been building.
It's the one challenge that is not easy for the team, that threatens everything they stand for, that threatens to break them forever.
Some of her actions in this film are going to leave huge repercussions, and they have definitely devastated and loosened the foundation of what this franchise was about.
The problem with putting your foot on a tiger's neck is you could never let it up. What Gary could pull out in terms of a darker character, I knew he would be perfect to be able to expose a more dangerous and deadlier side to Dom Toretto.
The chemistry between Vin Diesel and Charlize Theron with Dom and Cypher is absolutely electrifying. They are at odds, but you can't wait to see them on the screen because that electricity of them going together throughout this story, head to head, is something you've never seen before.
For me, who loves film, it's rare to see a combination like that on screen. And I think it'll be a tough one to compete with for a long time.
In the Fate of the Furious, a lot got thrown at our team, and we had to face it all without our leader, Dominic Toretto. See what it took for the family to soldier on without Dom.
Dominic Toretto just went rogue.
What?
Wait a second, what are you talking about?
In order for the franchise to go forward, I knew that we would have to sacrifice one of the most loved elements of it, which was Dom. Honor and loyalty and the brotherhood. That's important to the Dom Toretto character. And so being on the opposite side of your family members, that idea was very scary.
What the hell does any of this have to do with us?
Probably nothing, Letty, but I do find it interesting that apparently, for some reason, she's now working with this guy.
When the idea came up that Dom turns against the team, that was just like kind of a light bulb went off in all of us. That was a really interesting path to take, and we felt like we just needed something different. So throwing that wrench into it, I think, is really interesting for us as filmmakers and really, hopefully, interesting for the audience as well.
They thought this was gonna be a street fight.
The team can't believe Dom went rogue. I still can't believe Dom went rogue. The patriarch, the head of the crew, is no longer with him.
All right, I got his phone records, y'all.
He's now going up against them.
Dom is clearly communicating with somebody that's above our pay grade.
Look, I don't know Dom as well as you, but if we just look at the facts.
I think it's Ramsey first, who doesn't know these guys as well. I mean, she's only with this team since the last adventure in the last film.
She is really, out of all these characters, the only one that can ask that question. He took out Hobbs. He stole an EMP, now he's disappeared.
So what are you saying?
I ultimately think that she doesn't want to believe it. And I think the fact that she's still here and the fact that she's figuring this out shows her loyalty.
And so on the opposite side, you've got Letty, who it does not matter what Dom ever does. There's something else going on. I know it, I feel it, and I'll never give in to the doubt.
At the safe house, this scene is about the team coming together, using all their different skills to actually figure out what happened to Dom. This is one of the more emotional moments for Letty because he's never done this before.
Maybe we should consider the fact that Hobbs is right. Dom did go rogue.
Letty.
Before you judge the man, remember you're breathing right now because he saved your life.
I think it's really interesting to see how every member of the team reacts differently to the fact that we think that Dom has gone rogue. And Letty's character is just never gonna believe it.
It's just a shocker, because he did kind of just leave her after the honeymoon. Dom! You gonna turn your back on family? Just like that? Letty has to rely on her inner gut and her eye contact with Dom to know that he's doing this for a reason much greater than anything she could imagine. She's literally moving on faith, and that's tough. I don't know why you're doing this, but I know one thing. You love me.
It is the most dramatic thing the crew has ever come up against. I mean, their brother and their father figure and the leader of their crew has abandoned everything he stood for, and he's abandoned them. More than that, he's actually gone after them.
So that's how you want to play this?
I think Tez has a hard time, fighting the fact that Dom would remotely do something like this to us, but deep down in my heart, I don't want to believe it. And I don't think that Tez 100% ever really believes that he's gone rogue.
Now I know what it feels like to be every cop ever chasing us.
And so we kind of get to track the journey of all these characters from disbelief to more of where Letty is.
I want you to know if I have to, I'm gonna put him down.
You might have to take us both down.
If all the fans and all of the characters in this movie, we know one thing, it's definitely to never underestimate Dom Toretto.
Are they good? Are they bad? Or is there maybe a gray area somewhere in the middle? Here's your chance to get up close and personal with the family Shaw.
Deckard Shaw came into the franchise as the baddest villain. He was scary, scary, scary.
That took a little longer than expected.
The more we've been able to spend time with Deckard, we get to learn a little of his backstory.
Captain Deckard Shaw distinguished himself by acts of gallantry at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty.
He was an honorable guy prior to this.
Something about this whole thing that just doesn't add up to me.
Well, that would be the same kind of funny math. It says a DSS agent who has a Silver Star for valor stole an EMP.
He is motivated by family. This code is similar to Hobbs.
In another life, I bet me and you could have done some serious damage.
Yeah, we could have.
Yeah.
There's the Fast family on the one side, but there's also the Shaw family on the other side. I'd heard the rumors. I was a little excited to find out that it was true. We have Dame Helen Mirren playing our mum. I've seen all of her films. I am a huge fan. Just to say that Helen Mirren played my mum, it's like, that's great.
I'm not here to waste your time.
No, you've already taken everything I have of value, Mr. Toretto. What more could you possibly want?
To give you something back. One of my favorite moments of filming was doing scenes with Helen Mirren.
Do you know what I'm capable of?
That's why I'm here.
The very first time I saw Finn, I kind of fell a little bit in love with him and thought I'd love to work with him sometime.
She started calling me out on talk shows, saying, I love Vin Diesel and I want to be in Fast and Furious.
The second we heard that, we're like, oh yeah.
Well, I think you're about to suggest something really wicked, Mr. Toretto.
She's Helen Mirren. I mean, she brings a different dimension to the Fast saga, and I'm over the moon that she's involved.
It's a great role. Of course, I don't get to drive a car, but maybe next time.
I did great. Mama Shaw, she's from the other side of the tracks in London. We talked about leopard print and then just going the opposite of what you would expect.
Get one more just to have that? Sure. The traditional old East End that I'm quite familiar with, because actually my mum was from the East End of London. It's like a little island unto itself. You know, they're very proud of who they are, and that's very much where she's coming from.
The scene in the ambulance is really funny.
Come on. We got work to do.
You're supposed to avoid the nerves.
Oh, shut up. Don't be such a baby.
Jason Statham is probably one of the toughest guys on planet Earth.
Are you going to take your brother?
And for him to be smacked by his mom.
There's no way I'm using Owen, all right? It's a lost cause.
He's your brother, Dex. He's my son. He's our family.
We've all been through our moms kind of guilting us into stuff that we don't want to do.
You've really upset your mother. Call yourself a brother.
Oh, come here, Mum. Okay.
All mothers do that, don't they? Yes.
Every time.
It's fun to have Jason as a compatriot on this film and as my brother.
In position. Go.
The family is the firm. We're all in it together. It's all for one, one for all. We fight for each other.
These themes, these codes of honor, loyalty, brotherhood, and family are a critical element of this saga.
Can't believe you want to see my mother.
Mr. Nobody is no one and nothing. A high-powered, low-profile enigma who has the uncanny ability to get others to act. And now, he's got a protege. Go behind the scenes to get to know the unknowable nobodies.
Hey, Mark. Set. And action!
This is my new home base. Welcome to nowhere.
We always love to bring in new characters into the Fast and Furious franchise.
Kurt Russell was in 7. He came in as sort of this mysterious character.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody, being a guy who we don't exactly know much about. He knows anything he wants to know about everybody. He's the kind of guy that's involved in things we cannot imagine. Now I'm going to show you how to get this done.
Wrong camera, please.
We don't know anything about him. Don't even know his name. Mr. Nobody. He's nobody.
He is apparently involved with the government.
Moment, will you, fellas?
And I think that's probably the way to look at it. He's apparently involved with them. It doesn't mean he's with them, and it doesn't mean he's on his own. You find out there's a connection here to Hobbs.
It's good to see you, Nobody.
You too. Where he gets his money from, who he's really working for. Could be a line that often changes.
You never can trust Mr. Nobody all the way, and I think that is the delicious fun of that character, and Kurt plays it to the hilt.
We don't even really know who the hell this guy is.
Doesn't matter who I am, Tez. I'm like nobody, okay?
Nobody. So then who is he?
Him, he's nothing. He's like less than me.
They had this idea that he would have a protege. You never really know his name, you know, a man with no name, if you will.
Yo, Rules.
That's not my name.
Little Nobody.
Don't call me that.
Oh, that's definitely sticking.
Little Nobody. I came up with that name, by the way. I'm going to take credit for that. Sorry, Chris.
We have Little Nobody, who is played by Scott Eastwood.
A junior associate, as I refer to him. He's also someone who looks very much to be a government guy.
Well, boy band tour busted chief all out of him.
It's sort of a father-son relationship, if you will. You know, he gives him a little slack, gives him a little rope, just enough to maybe hang himself.
Ready, and go!
He's still working from the manual. He doesn't even know what the rules are.
Ooh, to be thrown up against a wall by The Rock.
Give him a break.
Get it, Brett. You don't want that to happen.
Rock's a little smaller than I thought it would be. I don't think he's been working out enough. I'm gonna talk to him about that later.
Rule number 1, know your audience.
Scott brings a lot to that role. Besides the fact that he's probably one of the most handsome guys on planet Earth, he's the guy who follows every rule to the T.
Action! Whoa, handcuffs, what is this? You told me to round him up.
I didn't tell you to hand.
He's skeptical of this crew, and he's skeptical of why we're exactly working with them.
Clearly, we're going nowhere with nobody.
What nobody has to do is try to bring people together and come up with a plan. We got a little window of opportunity here, guys. And he finds this troupe very interesting. They don't look like people that can do the things that the elite elements of the government can do.
Yeah, they got skills.
But they all have something to offer in a team effort.
So you know where Dom is headed?
Yeah, which proves rule number 2. You never lose everything.
Got it. Got it.
I really like the relationship between Little Nobody and Roman.
What are you, 12?
That was my shin.
They butt heads.
I want open channels with every NATO military operational command on standby.
No one respects you. Cover.
Get away from me.
We have a thing sort of going the whole movie, and this push and pull, this tug of war.
All day. Does this. Never ends.
The team is able to make fun of him, and he goes with it, but ultimately becomes part of that team.
I'm gonna get a little closer, I'm gonna pet him.
Oh, so you're just gonna pit Dom?
What are you doing?
It's a trap! Little Nobody has clearly lost his little mind.
By the end of the movie, this guy kind of learns a lesson.
I think I figured it out. Rule number 3, which is there are no rules.
I knew he'd get it in 3. There's a method to the madness here.
We gotta find the chip, go!
As long as we get the result that we need to get to,
I got it! Let's get the hell out of here!
the means in the ends, you know, all work out.
It's the biggest movie I've ever been on, by far.
Welcome to our new base of operations.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but Scott knew Paul Walker well over 20 years.
Paul was one of my best friends. He was like an older brother to me. It was definitely an emotionally charged decision. And why not be a part of something he was a part of?
There's a family aspect to the Fast and Furious clan. There is no question about that.
Look at that smile in the front. I can see that without my camera.
They've accepted me day one. I can't thank everyone enough for treating me like one of their own and bringing me into the family.
What are you doing here?
Told you I was going to check in on you from time to time, see how you're doing. By the way, not so hot.
Working with Kurt Russell was amazing. Every day is like an acting class.
Well, that's good thinking, champ.
He's just so engaging to watch.
All right, let's try this.
You don't question it if Kurt says it. The audience goes, oh, that's right, that's what it is, yeah.
Satellites and radar grids, like the ocean, they shift. I mean, they got channels that you can go in and out of. It's a fun group. I really enjoyed the whole process.
Let's be done yet.
I like this character a lot in this scenario.
Fire up the chopper.
He's just so easygoing, but in fact, the things that he's talking about are not to be dealt with lightly. Two governments aren't talking to each other right now. By the time they do, it'll be too late. Action. So far, Mr. Nobody is proving out to be a guy that the gang can trust. I don't know how long or if that will actually remain.
This is interesting.
That's what's fun about playing him.
You can't have a fast movie without a selection of the world's sickest automobiles. Whether it's Dom's latest and greatest Charger, my flashy Lambo, or Letty's Corvette, each character showcases our own style on the streets.
Let's roll. We have some of the newest, fastest, most technologically advanced vehicles on planet Earth.
We had cars coming from California, we had cars coming from New York, Florida.
Dennis went out to the best car owners in the country, and everybody loves to show off their cars, especially collectors.
Trying to top the last movie is always the biggest challenge in this franchise, but I feel that we pulled it off. There's far more many hero cars. It's like double the last movie. It really is. I mean, because each sequence has more characters and more action. Fast 8, you're gonna see a car like you've never seen before. Above and beyond looks capabilities, powertrain, without a doubt, the best Fast and Furious Charger ever.
I'm blessed to be associated with Dodge and the most iconic car in history. The audience has its own relationship to Dodge. I think that's a testament to the way that the car has been incorporated and thought about from a story perspective throughout the saga.
In this installment, we reveal some really cool Dodge cars. This time around, we got the Tantrum Charger. I mean, it's over the top and then some. It's really just an extension of his character. Primarily, the car is made out of carbon fiber, just unbelievable workmanship. And it has 2,000 horsepower. It has a Mercruiser motor in it, twin turbocharged. Then it's driving a 71 GTX, so it's really the next body style of the GTX that he had in 7. To me, it said Dom all over because you can put a gigantic rear tire. It has huge rear wheel wells in it. So we were able to put a tire that was, I think, 16 inches wide on a 20-inch wheel. And that is really a key element because of what he's doing in this sequence. He's dragging these cars. It had to be a lot of rubber on the ground to sell that. Having this Dodge Demon is just such an asset to the film. I got to give credit to the Universal team and the Dodge security team that they've been able to keep this under wraps. I mean, it's just incredible.
Very limited edition of these cars. I think it's the fastest street car ever made.
This is a car that's going to produce over 800 horsepower. It's basically ready for the drag strip. You get it from the dealer, and you could literally drive to the drag strip. You open the trunk. There's 2 skinny, lightweight, front drag tires. The car comes with sticky drag radials in the back. You feel the car will be capable of sub 10-second times in the quarter mile. It's going to be that fast. Quite a bit goes into converting them over to the Demon. Brake upgrades, suspension upgrades, wheels, tires, body modifications, interior, dash. Car will be released right at the release of the film. What a perfect joint venture.
I think Dodge really stepped up on Fast 8. They have been wonderful and they have been very supportive, but the bar was set high. The great thing is going into it with people that all believe they can achieve that next level.
The horsepower, the quality level, I mean, it's just unbelievable workmanship. I mean, obviously the Charger always comes back, but I want to mix it up a little bit. We got the Ice Charger. It's pretty wild, blasting through the snow.
Dom's Ice Charger is pretty spectacular.
I think it delivers everything you've grown to be accustomed to in a Fast and Furious film.
To build an all-wheel drive road car from scratch was really exciting. It's definitely one of a kind. You always feel like you've encountered every type of a picture car challenge over the decade of doing this franchise, but Iceland definitely brought about some new ones. When we learned that we're going to be on the ice, all-wheel drive was a definite necessity. I just love the concept of seeing all 4 tires spinning, the snow blowing off each wheel. That's something different. That's something that we've never done. 500 plus horsepower. When I say all-wheel drive, I mean it's a locker in the back, a locker in the front, transfer case is lock solid. I mean, it's all 4 tires are spinning. The car's capable of 130 miles an hour. Brad Kelly, our tire guys, spent literally months researching tire studding, tire grooving, tire cables, tire chains. We have tires that are studded differently for different portions of the sequence. The balance of the car is achieved by, basically the motor sits where the passenger would sit. The transfer case is behind the driver. I don't think you could ask for a more extreme environment to have a car working. Block heater and defroster for the stunt driver, insulation. This particular car is for jumping. There's a sequence where the car comes flying through the air and it lands on the ice. A lot of impacts, you name it. You can tell by the trophy truck style, box lower control arms, tubular upper arms, the massive uniball ball joint. This car has about 18 inches of travel in the front and about 22 inches of travel in the back. If you just want to see what goes into the suspension of a jump car, that's pure off-road race truck right there. Nothing, of course, is off the shelf. Everything's built from scratch, everything's machined. I love building those cars where there's no limit. Probably the most labor-intensive car we've ever built. When Gary came on, he was great. He loved what we were building. He had some visions of his own. I love the ideas that he contributed, one of them being Letty's Corvette.
My favorite car in the movie is the 1966 Corvette.
He goes, man, I love this car. I said, you know what, you're right, Gary, that thing is great. But it's a very expensive car. We went on a little spending spree. We bought some Corvettes. This is Letty's Corvette. This is an amazing car. It's a true race car. It's a wide body car, handmade, flared fenders, manual transmission, 600 horsepower, massive wheels, massive brake.
I put aftermarket black rims on it, low profile tires, painted it fire engine red, and it feels kind of current, even though it's a vintage vehicle.
Modified them, took molds off of Brian's car for the fenders, got the paint coat from him, the suspension modifications, and replicated what he actually races on the track. It's a true performance car. This car was so perfect that we're actually making molds of the quarter panels, front fenders, so we can create our own parts to modify our own vents. We have Roman's car, the Bentley. We look at it, it just says Roman all over it, and that's what he'll be driving in the second act. It's a Bentley GT twin turbo. It has the two-tone paint job, pearl white and the maroon. Perfect for his character, and like I said, I think it fits his taste as well.
Big sexy coming through.
Didn't have to do that many modifications, you know, some computers, some disabling of things. Didn't have to transplant the motors, we just kind of left them as is. We made the air ride suspension basically a manual system where we could inflate or deflate or adjust ride heights for, you know, they're going over curves, up all sorts of things.
No, 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 no! This is my Bentley! Ow! No! No!
The biggest surprise to everybody in Iceland was the fact that we brought 3 running Lamborghinis to Iceland, and we returned with 3 running Lamborghinis.
Why are they shooting at me? I don't know, maybe because you're in an orange Lamborghini? Shut up, Cash!
The writers and the director just felt that Roma should have a car that is just really out of place, just the wrong car for the environment.
No, 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 no! This is not good! Whoa! What's the matter, Roman?
You loving that Lambo now?
The Lamborghini seemed to be a good one because the Lamborghini actually is all-wheel drive. It pulled through. The cars that you see driving on the ice, they're actual Lamborghinis. Everyone always says that. Is that a kit car, you know? But no, they're real Lamborghinis. The ice isn't flat, you know? There's literally 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch gaps. It's like hitting curbs out there, you know? The ice constantly shifts, it fractures. You know, once again, I can't say enough about that car because it's astonishing the amount of abuse that it went through. It got to the point where we couldn't actually find any more front spoilers for the car, so we had to make a mold and build our own so we could constantly put a new nose on the car. Yeah, Tyrese loved that car.
Letty picked a Rally Fighter, which is a car built in the USA that's made for kind of off-road rally racing.
It's pretty much ready to go. You know, it's already an off-road car. It's extremely durable. The only thing it was lacking was all-wheel drive. We basically bought 4 Rally Fighters. We converted 2 of them to all-wheel drive. Posi, locker in the back, throw a set of studded tires on it, and it was good to go. It does a lot of jumps, a lot of impacts. They were right at home in the environment we were in. We definitely put it through its paces and really had 0 failures.
It's a big movie, it's an exciting movie. There's a lot of things happening.
In this installment, we put Hobbs in a 1-ton Dodge crew cab long bed.
Where you going? This is crazy!
This is a moment where audiences are gonna go crazy because they're having fun.
To outfit this for the snow and the ice, we actually equipped that with mat tracks, which is basically 4 individual tracks instead of having 4 wheels on it. It gave the vehicle this presence because once you bolt the mat tracks on it, you know, it goes from being a 7-foot wide vehicle to a 10.5-foot wide vehicle. Military box, the bumpers, we put flared fenders. They were Cummins diesels, manual 6-speed transmission. Once again, one of those vehicles that saved us a lot of time because the modifications were fairly easy. It's a factory Dodge Ram, and we bolted on the mat tracks, beefed up the suspension, special effects, built a pretty impressive plow that's on the front. It can actually flip over and go to the back.
Wow!
I know that Dwayne loved it. It says Hobbs all over it.
It's a wrap.
Computers, man. Think about it. How many computers do you interact with each day? From grocery stores to parking garages to the phones that many of us carry around in our pockets, computers are everywhere, including in our vehicles. For Fast 8's villain, Cypher, a fleet of computerized cars was too tempting to pass up. In one of the film's most stunning sequences, Cypher takes control of a garage full of vehicles and sends them careening into the abyss. Take a look at how this insane action was pulled off as our special effects team actually sent cars flying.
I want every chip with a 0-day exploit in a 2-mile radius around that motorcade now.
There's over 1,000 of them.
Hack them all. There's something great about witnessing a character just really coming in and taking what she wants and doing it in a way that feels unusual.
In New York City, zombie cars, our cyber terrorist Cypher. She takes control over and wreaks havoc in the way that you've never seen before.
Gary had spawned the idea of the raining cars, and to do it was obviously a whole nother thing, is how do we actually have cars coming out of a parking structure with cars moving?
B, marker.
This is a sequence which we call zombie cars.
We had to pick a location that was user-friendly for one thing, and Cleveland, Ohio was the one place that they were gonna really allow us to shoot and not have to worry about A, pedestrians, 2, are they really gonna let you crash this many cars in one spot?
He's hitting there, is following him in. Not trying to hit him, but if he's there, blow through him. Boom.
When we first started talking about the zombie cars, we knew that we were going to have a bunch of cars driving around with no drivers in them. So we devised a system that we could put into almost any of the cars where we could have a driver. He would be mechanically connected and do high-speed stunt scenes with a car that appears to have no driver.
The sequence, they're coming from everywhere, and there's ones that are parked on the side of the road, nobody in them, they take off, and there's also some in showroom floors. Carnage from the start to the end. It never stops. 15 or 20 stunt people in stunt cars coming in from every direction.
We got a big action sequence that's taking place here.
The motorcade just turned on 7.
Make it rain.
What we wanted to create was this enormous pileup of cars.
Like, what would happen if your car took over, if you were driving and all of a sudden all these cars started to take off on their own?
Once we found 2 or 3 parking garages that would allow us to do it, we then found out that most of the parking garages there have underground subway systems in them. And the ground underneath is only like 4 feet thick, and that you're gonna punch through and hit a subway system. So we came up with the idea of, let's put steel trench plates down on top of the ground, and then we'll paint the ground like the actual tarmac. We started testing throwing cars out of this parking structure from different levels, and they each had to be on an exact timer.
And Spiro, and it was very important to him, he wanted 7 cars in the air at the same time.
It's amazing how they were able to calculate it. And on top of that, we have 30, 40 stunt guys, not to mention pedestrians down below, not to mention real buildings that can't get damaged. What JD and his guys put together, and they came to me with the math, I said, I'm not even, I'd have to go to college for 5 years to figure this out, you guys.
We have to pull these cars at an exact speed, and we're doing that using the winch on the crane and set a little trip. And after that, each car comes out in succession to land on the vehicles on the road here. Obviously, there's no one in them because they're about to be impaled by 3,000-pound lawn darts.
Spiro and F. Gary Gray have a fantastic eye for putting that action on film, and you know, that's the beauty of it. That's why everybody wakes up in the morning and keeps going.
You've never seen on a Fast and Furious movie pile this many cars together in one shot. You've got 65 cars all wrecking in one spot.
The zombie sequence has set our new record for destroying the most cars in one sequence of a Fast and Furious film.
I'm out of breath just thinking about all the elements that Andy and JD and Nick, the AD, and the stunt team doing a shot like this from so many people. To do this, instead of just saying, let's go on a computer and just draw it in, to me, I love it.
Hey, Jack. This one. Boom. When the team hits Iceland, no one is better prepared than Tej and his ripsaw, me. A complex hybrid of a tank and a snowcat, the ripsaw is unlike anything we've seen in the franchise before. And you guys, we didn't make this up. The ripsaw was provided to us by the United States Department of Defense. get an inside look at this unique vehicle and discover how we got our hands on one.
This is heaven. 750 horsepower, 6.6 liter V8 Duramax engine with an M153 Crow's remotely operated weapons station on top.
Tej has an extremely positive response to this tank. It is an Army ripsaw, it's a military vehicle. It can be remote controlled, or you can get behind the tank and actually control it. This is an all-terrain vehicle. It has bullets and firing power on it, while everyone else is looking for how fast the car is, and just because how it looks on the outside, I'm more worried with what we're up against, and I'm gonna get the best odds with this vehicle.
Earlier on, we were looking at some YouTube videos of that, blasting across a frozen lake, going through the snow, basically doing everything that we needed a vehicle to do. And it was just, wow, this has to be in the film. So it came together so last minute, and the whole procedure to make it happen, dealing with the Department of Defense, getting the approvals, it was a huge undertaking. And we were literally at the point, gosh, this might not happen, but luckily some great people with the US government put it together, and the Department of Defense came through, brought us 2 brand new units. And I think the remote control feature is really one of the key points of it. It can be driven like a normal tank, or it can be operated remote control. You can put the thing on a mission and keep the person out of harm's way. It's a great military tool, and it worked out absolutely perfect for our film.
Ripsaw was something that none of us had ever seen before. And when they first brought it on the ice, we thought it was going to be problematic. We thought it's brand new, it's going to break a lot. So in the testing phase, we tried to break it. Action! We tried to say, let's see what we can do, because we know once we start shooting with it, we're not going to get parts for this thing. So let's try and find out what we're going to need to supply in parts. But we really couldn't break this thing. It was like indestructible. We jumped it off of snowbanks. We slammed on the brakes and stood it up on its nose. We turned it around in 360 circles, and this was like a tank. It was such a great piece of machinery.
It has incredible acceleration. It uses a General Motors Duramax motor for power. They can dial it up as much as they want. It's just a matter of adding more boost and more fuel. And it has great suspension. Basically has like off-road shocks incorporated into a tank drive system, so you can literally jump the thing 10 feet off the ground and land it and just stay on the power and keep on going.
We're able to clutch 14,000 pounds of force in the clutching. This is touted as really the fastest or the strongest super lightweight tank in the world right now that's actually being employed in some of the R&D efforts in the Army. We're used to the desert, rocky conditions. It's a test for us because we're bringing it to the ice and doing high-speed runs down the ice. What's it going to do? And drifting ice in a 10,000 pound, 800 horsepower, 1,200 foot-pounds of torque machine at 60 miles an hour is epic.
Having a vehicle like the Ripsaw would be a great opportunity to show the audience a shot that they would never be able to see with the tread spinning in the snow and the fire. It's something really special.
They would always drill holes, and whenever the water starts coming out of that, that means that part of the ice is depressing. It's time to move it. Yeah, move it somewhere else. We had to keep 40 feet apart anytime we stopped cars to talk. Because, between shots, they're going to want to talk. They just pull up next to each other and talk. Can't do that on the ice, especially in Ripsaw. Once everybody heard that you'd sink, nobody got near him. He had nobody to talk to. Yeah, everybody just kind of went, let's get away from the Ripsaw. Hey, guys, come talk to me. No.
The Ripsaw is the baddest ass tank you will ever see, and it can turn real quick. Hank Kinji, this guy had a few minutes to learn how to maneuver this thing and became a master, and he pushed the limits further than the people who manufactured it.
Even the manufacturer said, I don't know, I've never tried that before. And we said, well, we're gonna test it today.
And more times than not, my heart has been in my throat. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting there going, I can't believe I just witnessed that. I can't believe the stunt drivers here were able to do that with that machine.
It's everything that my character has always wanted, all in one. It fits his personality and fits his character to a T.
Okay, y'all wanna play rough? Now it's my turn. Boom, baby! Yeah, baby!
When Letty and Dom are in Cuba, Dom finds himself racing in a vehicle that turns out to be a ticking time bomb. Now we're taking you to the behind the scenes of this blazing race down the scenic Malecón in Havana to see how we pulled it off.
Why are you hooking up my cousin's car?
Your cousin's car. Not anymore. He needed money, I gave it to him. He can't pay, I take the car.
One thing that I did when I started on Fate of the Furious was to do my homework. Just do the research. I wanted to figure out what the fans loved about this franchise and what they missed, if there's anything they missed. And what I keep hearing is just going back to the basics. Car racing, just racing for pink slips.
You want a car? Get it the right way.
Race for.
Our characters have evolved to kind of save the world status that it's hard to justify a race anymore in this universe. So we were adamant about trying to find the perfect place to set that up. And the idea that we were able to make this race about honor was such a cool thing and such a throwback to the first one, ironically. He knows it doesn't matter what's under a hood. The only thing that matters is who's behind the wheel.
And race his car.
Basically stripped the car of all its heavy parts, left the essentials, and now we're about to start the race.
One of the things that we wanted in this drag race is not to make it be just a regular drag race from start to finish, because we've done those in Fast and Furious. Let's make it through the city. They've got to make right-hand turns, left-hand turns, around people, around cars. And we'll give them blockers. The motorcycles will be blockers who will block the traffic just for a split second.
So we're getting ahead of these guys, we're blocking traffic and stopping everybody from coming in through the intersection so these guys can just charge as fast as they can. It's been fun. The streets are a little dirty, a little slippery here and there, but you kind of spot your lines and it all works out. Been a good experience here out here in Havana riding. Sometimes pulling a dirty move here and there, launching a bike in front of cars and trying to keep Dom from winning the race.
We said, that's not enough. We've got to have something that he has to deal with.
Dom has rigged this car to go faster, but at the same time, it's also about to explode. And the harder he drives this car, the more likely it's going to explode. And it happens right here on the Malecón.
The Malecón is the thoroughfare of the city. It's the coastal byway, if you will. It's very much the scenic route. Beautiful, and in a lot of ways, the way people travel from one point of the city to the other. So what we were tasked with doing is finding spots to film a few scenes, and we did that, but we had to decide how will we make shutting down the Malecón possible. And it was a big coordinated effort between the government, the transit authorities, the police department, the firemen. We had meetings after meetings after meetings after meetings. I mean, we're shutting down about a half a mile of the road. That's a lot, because we're not just shooting one part here, we're actually shooting another part further down the road. So at the end of the day, we're really shutting down the whole road.
We were probably hitting close to 100 on the Malecón, and Fred was having a hard time in the helicopter keeping up with him.
This is one of the most beautiful stretches of Havana, right off the water, and this is where we end our race. They turn onto the Malecón, they avoid traffic, but Dom's car has literally been transformed into a bomb.
The
fire almost gives away your speed, because at slow speed you can tell you're not going fast, but when you're moving, it's just blowing back all over the windshield, pulling into the car. I mean, it's the real deal.
Trying to make a car go backwards fast was tough. But what Dennis McCarthy did was put a car that was a four-wheel steering car. He gave us four-wheel steering, which really helped that we could actually do 90 miles an hour and keep it fairly controllable. But that's how we did it safely.
What better way to open a movie that has a bunch of cars and a bunch of action sequences with cars than Cuba? It's the perfect place, not only for the story, but just as a backdrop to open Fast 8, and I loved it.
All right, y'all, when we traveled to Iceland for the 8th movie, we stepped into the cold, unfortunately, to capture some of the biggest action scenes in franchise history. Take a look at everything that went into the making of Fast 8's climatic action sequences. Like I said, the biggest one yet. F8. We at it again, sending love from Iceland. Let's go.
I don't think anybody's gonna ever see an action sequence like the one we filmed on the frozen lake in Iceland. It's an incredible third act.
We have action set pieces unlike anything you've ever seen.
I think it delivers everything you've grown to be accustomed to in a Fast and Furious film.
The team of artists that are working on this film bring a lot to the table.
Literally the best in the business that has ever been.
We're standing on the lake right now, you guys.
22 inches of ice. But when we first got here, couldn't even put a car out here. We didn't come out here on snowmobiles because the car would have fallen. It was only 8 inches when we first came out.
Just to figure out if we can shoot, if it's safe enough, it's a production in itself.
When people are risking themselves for stunts and doing it practical like we do, instead of just saying, let's go on a computer and just draw it in, to me, I love it.
Our safety team has 10 people. We have 2 rescue diver teams. We have ice engineer, myself, and we have 2 medics. And our ice engineers drilled some test holes to measure the strength of the ice, measure the thickness of the ice, and the general condition of the ice.
The engineers would take a look at it, and they would know within 5-10 minutes how many pounds per square foot we could then put on the ice.
We had 16 cars out there one time on a lake. That's a lot of weight. I don't think anybody ever shot with that many cars on a frozen lake.
All the heavy vehicles, we want, 30 to 50 feet space in between them.
Don't put them all together or you're just gonna sink. Especially in the ripsaw, which was 14,000 pounds. And once everybody heard that you'd sink, nobody got near him.
We have some of the newest, fastest, most technologically advanced vehicles on planet Earth.
This is Roman's vehicle, and as you can tell, it stands out. We're about to test the Lamborghini on the ice.
We did about 2 days of testing nothing but studs on tires to see which ones work better for what cars.
That means steel studs driven into the wheels so that you can get traction.
First Lamborghini in ice.
Today we're at the part where our heroes first get on the ice.
We wrote this sequence where it was a race across a frozen lake.
The cars that you see driving on the ice are actual Lamborghinis. Everyone always says, is that a kid car, But no, they're real Lamborghinis.
What happens is there's a rocket is fired. It goes right behind Roman, hits the ground and opens this big crack up that's following him. It sucks half of his car in. So to do that, I had him cut a big trough in the ice. I think it was like 150 feet long. And then filled it with water and ice, and the Lambo goes darting into the water underneath the ice. It actually went under a lot farther than they thought. They thought it was gonna hit and skip, and it just dove under beautifully.
Roll cameras. Rolling. It's about 22,000 gallons of water. I'm about to jump in and do this scene.
Pirates is in the vehicle, and he's cracked through the ice and sinking under the water. We're gonna put Tyrese in the car dry, slowly lower him down, and we've cut holes in the bottom of the car so the water can rush in and fill up, and it'll stop right about at his chin level. On action, we open up our big giant valve and let the water run down our slip and slide ramp here and into the tank and over the windshield of Tyrese's car.
The door's gonna get pulled out of the ice, fly out 24 to 30 feet, hit the ground with a big thud.
We got Roman over here sliding down on the door. And right here, we're gonna set off an explosion. We have 2 sticks of Kenny Pack. We're gonna have 6 gallons of alcohol fuel mixture to make the fireball and the snow explosion, simulating the torpedo hitting the ice.
Another day in the life of a stuntman.
Biggest gag we did up in Iceland was what we call the submarine breach. Cypher has infiltrated the submarine, so she now has control of it. The submarine comes from a depth and shoots straight up through the bottom of the ice. What they've asked me to do is to try and bend the surface of the ice in a sphere shape directly underneath the bad guys. So we're gonna have 4 of the bad guys on tow lines and guide cables. They'll come in at about 25, 30 miles an hour, and they're gonna drive over our explosive charges. This is gonna be the single largest amount of high explosives that will set off, 180 pounds.
You have to have your head on a swivel, and you have to really be thinking all the time just to keep everything safe.
We have a good estimate where everything's gonna go, but we don't know what happens when these things are compounded. So we're gonna err on the side of extreme safety for this.
So what we do, stick the dynamite in a 6-gallon pail of ammonium nitrate. We drill a hole in the ice, we sink in a bucket. There's gonna be 4 of them, 1 for each vehicle, and then we're able to pull the vehicle right over the top of it and not deviate, an inch in either direction. So we're gonna go with 6 gallons of ammonium nitrate under each vehicle at a depth of 12 feet. Once they get directly above the ammonium nitrate, we trigger our button and we blow the ice up. And that should give us about 20 to 30 feet of lift on each of the vehicles. We should have all 4 vehicles flying in the air, flipping, tossing, turning, and about a 200-foot geyser going up into the sky with chunks of ice this big. You won't hear it too much because the water muffles the sound, but you will definitely feel it in your bones. A lot of power.
Oh shit! We're gonna need a bigger truck!
Awesome. Nice job, you guys.
In the Fate of the Furious, the team hit the streets of the Big Apple, but shooting there offered a unique challenge. On screen, we like to push our cars into triple digits, but shooting on the streets of New York meant keeping speeds to a cool 35 miles per hour. Here's a look at how we captured the action of New York.
New York in itself, the metropolis, is such a great canvas for streetcar chases, and the action that ensues in New York City is just so hard to beat. Such a great location.
You see our team drive through Times Square. First you think, how'd they do that? Second, you think, damn, they did that.
As soon as I heard we have to go shoot in New York, I was like, well, this is special. This is beyond a challenge. New York has got the toughest restrictions.
You say you're going to do a car chase in New York City, New York Police Department, they have seen Fast and Furious movies and they know the destruction that we incur. And so we had to have a lot of discussions about where cameras were going to be placed, exact locations, and what time of day was going to come into play. So it's tough. It's a really tough thing to handle.
All right, let's go.
The fact that they kind of opened their arms up for us was very good for us. But originally we went in there saying we're not going to be able to do this at all. I mean, who's going to let us race cars through Times Square? The biggest problem about shooting in New York City is people, they walk everywhere they go. You have a lot more people on the ground in New York City than you have in any other city. And the fact that they're not going to stop for a movie crew.
You have to really be thinking all the time just to keep everything safe because the streets are crowded. When you do get them off the street, they're off the street by about a quarter inch. They don't step off back away from the curb. And you can be coming by at 45, 50 miles an hour right against the curb and they are not moving.
We had 150 to 200 people around some of the cars we weren't using, and I was just amazed that you'd see from every single lifestyle, from every single part of the world, people taking pictures of Fast and Furious cars. And police officers are coming over and leaning down and saying, hey, can I, come over and lean down and get a picture? The New York Police Department came in. I gotta say that they are a big fan of Fast and Furious too. They let us do things a little more than what I think they normally do and said, we're gonna let you do it until we can see that you're at a point where we think it's dangerous. And then we're gonna say no, because nobody's ever done what we've done in New York City. And the New York Police Department and the mayor were part of it. Dom's team on the street is so iconic primarily because you don't ever see cars like that going that fast in New York City. We started out with going 5 miles an hour. You go 5 miles an hour, show us your entire run. We're gonna go 10 miles an hour the next time. Then we're gonna go 15. We're gonna keep building it up until you can prove to me that you've got everything in hand.
Just at the end.
That's when you have to build up the relationship with all of your people that are working on the streets.
Police officers were very, very nice, very good to us. They'd let traffic run and then they'd block it off. And as soon as that traffic got through our certain set of blocks, they would let us go and then let traffic go right behind us. Well, you have to have all those cars clear, which takes time. And when you have open roads in New York City, guess where all the people go? Hey, there's no cars. Let's go out and have a picnic in the road. So it just gets filled with people just like that. I mean, quickly. And then as soon as they say go, our cars gotta go. And so it's like a nightmare going, guys, there's people in the streets. Just watch the guys in the street. And then they're going, should we keep coming? Yeah, keep coming. I hope they get out of your way. This is the shot.
When you're in New York, when they say go, you have 20 seconds, so you have the light. When the light changes, you're done. You stop, or you get a real ticket, or you go to jail. I mean, it literally is like that.
They see no cars in the street for, 3 seconds. It's time to go across the street. And that's something you have to always watch. Then there's the crazy ones that want to jump out there and stop the movie.
We hit every single iconic spot.
We shot Times Square, Flatiron Building, the library. We were shooting the library, and we're shooting out across to see the library and the steps and all that. And FK Gray's talking about, just make sure that nobody's got their phones out, and the DP starts laughing. And then when you see the shot, you don't see the steps. You don't see, it's just a wall of people and all with their phones up like this. That's all you see is phones. Not his vision, but it works.
You can only drive the speed limit like 35 miles an hour. You cannot go faster. If you do, you get arrested.
Sometimes they say you can't ever even break traction on a surface. We were able to do that. I mean, it's certain things that I'm glad that they were able to help us, create, an homage to New York.
So it is challenging. I wish that they would let us do a little bit more because it is a great place to shoot.